Okay, guys, I have a message for you. And the overarching theme is going to be, what do you do when the universe says no? When God says no, or your guides say no, or the universe says no, however you look at source, okay? The source of all knowledge and wisdom, when it shuts a door for you, okay? And this is a kind of a complex message. I'm going to do my best to pull it together for you because I asked my guides multiple times and through multiple decks to give me the overarching theme. Like, how can I deliver this to you to help you, okay? And there are multiple sides to this, okay? So just bear with me for a second as I put it together. So I just want to show you the first 3 cards that came up, okay? And then we'll talk about it. So first, I have them in order, sorry, was Archangel Michael and Archangel Faith, okay? And the message of this card is spiritual calling, divine protection, breakthrough moment, okay? The second card that came up was Rama and Sita, holy union. Think divine masculine, divine feminine. Overarching message, soulmate connection, and for some romantic opportunity, okay? The third card that came up, Metatron and Sandalphon, okay? And these are twin flame brothers. And by the way, you know, Michael and Faith carry a twin flame energy as well. So twice twin flame came up. And to me, these 3 cards also represent divine union or sacred union, masculine and feminine tuning. Okay, so the reason why I want to talk about this is I have several clients who are going through extreme periods of isolation, okay? Isolation from their family, isolation from their friends, and some of their cases, isolation from spouses, like they're going through breakups and divorces and things like that. Okay, and they continue to reach out for help, but the help's not there. The help is just not coming, okay? Now, I want to talk about this for a second because absolutely I feel like there are systems, many in our world, no matter where we live geographically, that need improvement, right? For people in need of assistance. I know that, okay? But this is a message beyond that, okay? This is when the universe is saying no, and it puts you in isolation, and it's making you see yourself, and it's making you work on yourself, okay? And it's a very, very difficult place to be, and I know because I've been there, but it is a rite of passage, okay? So I asked my guides, you know, what is this about, this overarching message of what these particular individuals are going through, and what does this mean for humanity? Like, how can we help, right? And, you know, sometimes from the spiritual practitioner's side of it, you know, if you're a practicing psychic or a healer of any kind, whether you do this even in the medical realm, okay, or holistic healing or spiritual healing or a fusion of those things, as the more advanced soul, sometimes what you can do is say no. Because if the universe is telling the person no, and then you're working against that and constantly bailing the person out, okay, are they going to go through their rite of passage? Okay. And you know, on the healer side of that, it's also like an abuse of your own energy when you constantly give and you don't like balance that out. Okay. So just want to say that. But for the person going through that fire, okay, and through that isolation and through that darkness, you know, they're being called to bring forth something within them that is the strength of a diamond, that is, you know, the true flame. They are being called to light their own lantern, okay? And if you keep doing it for them, it becomes a relationship of enabling, okay? And so I found it interesting that Spirit brings up these twin flame messages, these, you know, sacred union messages of what is being calibrated within individuals when they go into isolation, okay? And that being said, yes, I do feel that our systems need help and repair, and there should be more resources available to help them with their mental health, their spiritual health, even their physical needs, food, shelter, and such. All that stuff just needs fixing. We know that, okay? But on the spiritual side, there are these times when God just says, no, you deal with it. Go find yourself. And all these doors start closing, right? Because you can't keep going through those doors. Those doors don't have your answers. All they have is a quick fix, okay? And in that place, this is what comes up next, okay? These were the numbers that came up. Happens great shift, okay? 1122 is the number, okay? And it's about transformation, spiritual awakening, manifestation, unity, alignment. There we go with the sacred union again. Fulfillment and expansion. They have to grow themselves, okay? 0909, new beginnings, okay? Opportunity, courage, achievement, endings, new beginnings, adventure, love. 2112, it's up to you, okay? Guidance, good fortune, divine support, direction, trust, destiny, and faith, okay? And, you know, really, I think that the beautiful thing about the universe is that, and I've seen this for years as a spiritual teacher, we learn from each other, okay? We learn from both experiences. I learn when I administer a session, when I facilitate a session. I'm also learning, okay? And we also learn when the answer is no, when we don't get a session or we don't do anything, right? When you have to go sit with yourself or I have to go sit with myself. And sometimes that is the answer, is deep inner reflection, which can only happen in isolation, okay? But from this, like the numbers cards said, great shift, new beginnings, you know, make it happen within yourself. This is what we're being called to do, okay? And for one reason, many people, I would say most people, are not healed enough to hold any space for you, okay? The person that can hold space for you is the person that has healed themselves to enough of an extent, okay, that they can hold space for you. And so the majority of humanity has not done that, and they can't, and they cannot help you right now because they got to help themselves, right? And then the healers, people like me who are in positions of assisting humanity in any kind of way that we do this, we have to self-care, right? And have boundaries so that we can continue pouring from a full cup, okay? All right, so this leads me to the other cards. So this deck is really such an awesome deck. Now, it's a little bit hard sometimes to look it up, but I want to show this to you. So this is a tarot deck. It's just different from the others that I've had. It's called Circle of Life. I love it, love it, love it. And look at how beautiful I think it's like a mandala. Am I saying that right? Mandala. So beautiful. And then the illustrations are very like nature oriented. So it's, you know, lots of fairies, trees, turtles, snakes. Like, I love it. Anyway, so I pulled from this deck twice because the first thing that came up was, you know, relevant. But then I was like, I feel like there's more. So I did it again. So the first cards that came up, which I don't have them right now, but carried the message of allowing the universe to carry you. And so it showed a woman carrying a big vessel of water on her back, and she doesn't have wings, so she can't fly, but there's like 7 or 8 bluebirds carrying her, and they're all holding her dress, kind of carrying her through the air. And she's getting the higher perspective by allowing the universe to assist her. And because of this, she can carry a large vessel of water, which is essential to life, okay? So the first pull from that deck was let yourself be assisted by the universe, okay? And the second card that came in that was nature, okay? So it's getting in connection with nature and then allowing nature to do what you need, okay? So put them all back in, shuffled them again, because I was like, I know there's more here. I feel it, okay? And this is what came up, okay? So the Ten of Swords came up. And excuse my writing because I make notes when I'm doing this, but this is what it looks like. And she's a fairy whose wings have been cut. Am I upside down? Let's see. Oh yeah, like this. Okay. I think, yeah. And she's falling from the heavens, okay? Now, in a physical sense, this can be a very triggering message because a lot of people can remember their lifetimes as fairies and having their wings cut and going through that traumatic experience was so terrible. Many of us are actually healing our ethereal wings in this life, okay? And I have gone through that process because I have such a connection to the Fae. But she goes through a death, basically. She's falling from the heavens. Her perspective is changing. She's coming to the ground. She's coming to a lower place, right? And, you know, it's interesting. Death always feels terrible, doesn't it? And it is, and it sucks. But then there's the rebirth, right? So she's falling to the ground because she needs a new perspective, okay? The second card, she's on the top of an owl flying above, okay? And this is the Queen of Swords, by the way. She has the higher perspective. She has the advantage of flying high. She has the world view. She can see what's really going on, okay? Both of these perspectives are needed, yes, for a true enlightened experience. So let me just say that. And she, when you read up on this a little bit, has to care for her owl, her wisdom, to keep the higher perspective, okay? And, you know, even the fairy that's falling and has the lower perspective has to heal those wings. But when she does, you know, she will now be both beings, okay? She will now have duality calibrated within her, which is the true sacred union, okay? And I feel like, you know, all of this is so important. It's just so important. There's a couple more I want to show you. So this one, let me just flip it the right way. Sorry, you guys, hold on. It is the Nine of Pentacles, okay? And I did make some notes on this, but I just want to talk about the picture first. So she's a fairy, and she's creating a mandala. Sorry for my lack of knowledge on how to pronounce that properly. And she's surrounded by nature. As you can see, a snake is working with her and turtles and all this. And, you know, traditionally mandalas are made with sand, so they're not meant to last forever. Okay, so this is the kind of overarching message of this card, is that she created something very beautiful, and it was wonderful, and everyone enjoyed it. See how everyone is kind of working with her, enjoying what she created. And eventually that mandala will just be brushed off and she will start again, okay? And the message of this is to, first of all, create beauty from nothing. To come from a place of nothingness and to create is to be the universe, okay? To come from the great void with something beautiful is a mastery, okay? And it's not easy either, but it is worthy and meaningful and beautiful. And even when that something just gets wiped out, okay? Even when that something that you created, which was beautiful, gets the door closed on it and God says, no, that's it, enough. Create something new now. As much of it as it feels like a death, it can be an overarching view, right? It can be the opportunity to create something new when everything in your world seems to be saying no, okay? Find your yes. 1331, as I said that. Okay, one more card. So nature, and these are four different decks. I'm sorry, because there was so much coming through. I was like, okay, guys, I need help. Like, what do you want me to say about this? Everybody's dealing with so much, and it also depends on your perspective, even just your occupation, how this message is going to resonate with you. You could be on the receiving end of help, or you could be the one always giving the help. Either way, there's need for balance, okay? Balance and boundaries. But nature, look at my beautiful unicorn. Love him so much. So beautiful. Ground yourself. Find a sanctuary in nature. Connect with the elementals, okay? Now, here's what I feel about this. I love this card so much. All right. So when your traditional sources of help are not there, okay, let's say you live alone, you're not married, you don't have a partner, maybe you don't have children, or maybe you had all those things and nobody's responding, nobody's answering. It's just you. You're there and they're not, for whatever reasons, okay? If you let it, it can force you, literally force you to forge, 1444 as I said that, a true relationship with nature, a true symbiotic situation, okay? And that goes back to the first card where the fairy, I don't have it. Let me see if I can just find it because I love the picture. I put it back in and reshuffled a bit where she's being carried by the birds. Okay. And that is, here we go. Let me show you the picture. It's so beautiful. Okay. So see, she's not like looking magical, right? She's just a regular lady, no wings, you know, common clothes. She's been carried by all these birds with her vessel because it's important. What are they doing? Working together, okay? If you allow this isolation that you're experiencing to forge a deeper connection to nature, the truth, okay? I think this is going to be incredible. And I do feel like, you know, this is our ancient future, right? We are returning to nature. And to return to nature, those connections have to be forged again, which means we have to go through, in some level, death of the false connections, okay? And rebirth of the truth. And so it's uncomfortable. It's not comfortable, you guys. And I've been through this and I've watched a lot of people go through it. And my heart goes out to them. But I also hear my guides telling me, no. Sometimes the answer is just no. You don't keep fixing it for them. You don't keep jumping in and answering questions, or, you know, I'm being reminded of the scripture in the Old Testament. Well, really, okay, this is in the New Testament too, but where Jesus said, you know, let each person lift up their own cross and follow me. And if you give this a more accurate interpretation, more accurate than the church interprets it, because they don't teach it properly, in my opinion, it's really not about what we were told. It's about lifting up your roots. It's about ascension. It's about, in some instances, even a Kundalini awakening, right? Like bringing all the heaviness of your ancestors up into the crown, okay? The truth of what they went through, rising it up from death, okay? And allowing it to influence this higher aspect, and then allowing the higher aspect to go down into the roots and influence the roots, okay? So that inner union, that inner calibration, which is very difficult, and it is a death and rebirth. It is a rite of passage. Yes, this is why it was brutal, even what Christ went through, okay? If you took all that as a metaphor even, and not a literal situation, it was brutal, even then. So spiritual death and rebirth can be just as brutal as physical torture, okay? And sometimes more so because there's no one there. There's no one to sit in the darkness with you, okay? But this is where God puts us sometimes, because something good comes from the isolation. Think about when amazing beings like come up from the depths of the ocean, like deep sea water creatures that we are fascinated with and that we love, but they exist in the abyss, okay? They exist in the darkness. This is the kind of magic you can produce in your life and in the lives of others when you sit by yourself, find yourself, heal yourself, and rise. This is the true Phoenix energy, okay? And it's, while God may sometimes give you like a drop of water, He's going to call you to start nurturing yourself and nourishing yourself, and only give you what you need to get you through so you actually build your strength. And I can tell you from experience, it can feel like torture. It absolutely can. But if you can come through it, and God wouldn't be putting you through it if you can't come through it, okay? If you can come through it, you will be so powerful, because you already are powerful. And if you look at it like the universe is sending you a future version of yourself that's bringing you through this moment, that version of yourself has already conquered this battle, okay? And there is something there that's really needing to be created, okay? But it couldn't be created until you went through the death, okay? The loss of all that you thought was sustaining you, which wasn't real, okay? And yeah, like my guides are saying, that's the message, okay? So go deeper, you guys. Go deeper, go inward. You know, trust that you are worthy, that you are loved. And just because you might feel very isolated right now, that does not indicate, that is no indication of God's disapproval. That's not what's happening at all. God is calling you to be the strongest you've ever been, to show up for yourself like you never have, right? You thought you had, but not like this, okay? that was always with some kind of assistance or someone else around. That was support outside of you, okay? Now you're being called to grow within you and show up for yourself in your thoughts, in your actions, and your daily self-care, okay? And I can tell you from experience with many, many sessions of the subconscious mind, people have no idea how harmful their negative thoughts are to their literal body and to their purpose, 2020 as I said that, and to their spiritual vision. And some of these thoughts are not their own. We are telepathic. We do pick up on other people's thoughts, and sometimes there is psychic attack. That happens too, right? But no matter what it is, God is giving you the power to defeat these things, okay? By gaining your own perspective of what is really going on, facing it, tuning it, correcting it, and rising despite it, okay? And so I just feel this is a call to like your deepest inner strength and your deepest inner knowing and your deepest self-love. And if you can just answer that call by really minding your mind, Mother Mary always says this, okay? And if you think of the greater mothers, okay, and even the Isis of Egypt story and the creator of all life, the great mother, the Sophia, she always says, mind your mind. She always says this. Get into your head and face your thoughts and find out how they are either helping you or harming you and deal with it. And if you have these negative thoughts, go to the root of those wounds and find out where they're coming from. Okay? This is what inner work is about. And I say this all the time. I'm going to say it again. If we want to heal the world, we must heal ourselves. Okay? The inner work is where the magic's at. This is what's going to connect us to everything we're wanting, even the interactions with interdimensionals and the Fae and extraterrestrials. All of that fun, cool, new, whatever, however you want to look at that, is all hinging on your inner rising. Okay? And yeah, that's it. Anything else you want to say? That's it for now. I love you. Have a great day, guys.